listening to the Gettin Salty Experience podcast.
Hello, Tank, who's sitting upstairs in my living room.
Yes, I am.
He is.
Come on.
Actually, he's up in the glass room where the Christmas tree is. Tank.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it wasn't because he couldn't fit behind the desk there, but I'm going to say because it probably couldn't fit behind the desk here.
I'm going to say it was 100% because I could not fit behind the desk.
Yeah, I'm not even that big and I can barely fit behind the desk here. I don't know what I was thinking. What are you laughing at, bro?
I'm just giggling right now, man.
Just giggling.
Just trying to visualize Tank sit behind there because I've seen that area.
It don't happen. There's nothing to visualize. It don't happen.
Yeah.
Not even to mention the height thing. You got to, he wouldn't
be able to walk in here like me, bro. I can walk in unimpeded, without banging my head.
I can only think so thin, boys. It just is part of it.
Yeah.
Well, we had a lovely meal cooked tonight by AJ, my lovely wife. We had a little
wonderful
chicken cacciatore. You know what I mean?
Oh, the ladies yapping. Are they going back and forth?
Ladies went shopping.
Okay.
So it's just me, Tank, and my son sitting home here.
Oh, sweet.
Yep.
Sweet.
Bringing a little Christmas joy.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm on vacation till the end of the year.
Till the end of the year?
I don't go back until January 2nd.
Wow.
So I need to check out for a little while.
You'll be double dipping Christmas, right? Because you're what was that? What was the song that guy played? Richie Navieski. What was it? The Jewish what?
It was I have to go back to the email. What was it? Jewish Christmas or something? Let me see.
That's you, bro. Double dipping.
Shit, it's not on here. You get the damn pizza cutter in here, but I guess we must have deleted the email where it said his song.
Yeah. So you're hanging off the candelabra while you're decorating your Christmas tree, right? You're hanging off your menorah.
I put that away. It's done. 8 crazy nights are over.
That's over already?
Yeah, done. See you.
Wow. Anything special happen on the last night?
No.
Nothing?
No. It's we usually do the first, second night. My wife's pretty good about lighting the candles.
Yeah.
And going through all that, but the gifts, because we do both, we try to spread the gift giving out amongst the 2 days. It could be a little pricey for 4 kids, and trying to do Hanukkah and Christmas.
Oh, those guys are getting salty. Better start paying you more, bro.
A lot more.
Yeah. I thought maybe like the last day, like the 8th day, something happens, like a big orgy at Gonzo's house or so. I don't know. Is that what happens?
No.
No.
I'd be in a lot of trouble if that happened. I can't even mention that.
Oh man. Yeah.
Be like, what the hell?
What the? Yeah. Don't let her watch this show, bro.
She's watched a couple of times. She's like, what does that mean? I'm like, don't worry about it. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, I mean, what does this mean?
You dick.
Anywho,
yeah.
It's almost Christmas.
It is almost Christmas time.
Ruffy had a prior engagement tonight. I think it was his mother-in-law's birthday or something like that. So he couldn't make it.
That might be important, Got to keep the peace, right?
Oh yeah.
So isn't she? Is she down by you, or not too far from you, Coops?
She lives in Whitestone, which is about half hour, 30, maybe 40 minutes away.
You're still close.
Something like that. You had to see Tank yesterday. He was like a kid in a candy shop, bro.
You don't even know.
Francis Lieb yesterday, Chief Lieb. Met him in the city, but then he went to come on, man. Then he went to the Christmas tree. He went to St. Patrick's Cathedral. He saw all the best things you could see at Christmas time in the city. But you know what made his day? Lee brought him to the Rock. He was like,
oh yeah, I sure was. I ain't even gonna lie. There's
Wait, what? Are we still talking about the Rock?
Yeah.
Lieb?
Brought him to the Rock.
Especially the Rock with Lieb.
Yeah.
The Rock, and then there's the Rock.
No, he had his back with him. And then they stopped at my house late at night. We had a couple of glasses of we had a little moonshine that the Tank brought me.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you were bringing a little that way.
Yeah.
Allegedly could have happened. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Allegedly. Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Lieb, Chief Lieb, and the Mrs. We shared a little apple pie moonshine, bro.
Nothing like
let's get our commercials on because we got a guy with a very long career. You want to talk about the war years? This guy was there, and in the best places while the war years. We're going to talk about the strike. We're going to be talking about the layoffs. This guy was there for it all.
Yeah, he's got some really good stories. He was chatting it up the whole time. So
he looks great for 101, doesn't he?
Yeah. He's back there belly laughing.
Yeah. All right, get the commercials in, bro.
All right, here we go. What do we got? Armor Tough.
Armor Tough interlocking floor tiles are the best choice to replace new or aging, stained, or cracked concrete or epoxy floors. Here's why. Armor Tough tiles come with a lifetime warranty and are usually installed in 1 or 2 days, depending on the size of your station, with virtually no disruption in daily operation. Armor Tough interlocking tiles are guaranteed from chipping, cracking, peeling, breaking, or staining. Once installed, the tiles are non-skid and non-slip and meet the ADA standards for the friction coefficient. The tiles are stain resistant and impervious to any chemicals or volatiles that are used in the fire service. Once installed, your floor will be easy to clean with just soap and water. Install an Armor Tough tile floor in your apparatus bays, offices, training rooms, workshops, exercise rooms, kitchens, banquet halls, or any other room in your station. Call Vince today for a no-obligation quote at 908-917-7697. Why install a breakable epoxy floor that will need replacing in 5 to 10 years when you could have a floor that will last a lifetime? Drop a halogen on an Armor Tough floor and you won't see any damage. Don't try this with concrete or epoxy. Join the hundreds of career and volunteer fire departments nationwide who have chosen an Armor Tough interlocking tile floor. Armor Tough interlocking tiles are half the price of epoxy and will last a lifetime without issue. Again, call Vince today for a no-obligation quote at 908-917-7697.
I like Vince. He's sending us a new commercial, so if you guys are tired of the same old commercial, it's a great product, but he's putting together a new commercial.
Yeah, he's going to describe the friction coefficient a little bit better.
He's a friend of ours, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Vince is one of those.
Yeah, man.
Good product. Good product.
Yeah. So, all right. Here's the fire store.
Here's our last one. Do it.
Uh-oh.
There was the fire.
It was there. Did you see it? Oh.
The Fire Store, equipping protectors with passion. Every decision we make as a company is about you, our customer. We wouldn't be where we are today without you, and we don't take that lightly. The Fire Store started by simply seeing and fulfilling a need in the fire service. It's how we operated then, and it's how we operate today. No matter how much we grow, we will always staff active or retired firefighters, police officers, EMTs, and paramedics. With over 1,000 years of combined public safety experience, we know our products and our customers, and will never compromise on quality because your safety matters. We understand that having the right gear can mean the difference between life and death. Our goal is to get you the gear you need when you need it at prices you can afford. Visit us at thefirestore.com for everything but the truck and shop our family of brands including Streamlight, MSA, Lion, Fleer, and more.
You know what, Tank? That's who we should have asked to come up. Frankie Sutphin for dinner tomorrow night.
Right.
Frankie, get in the car tomorrow, 7 o'clock. We're all going out to dinner.
Get in the car.
We're bringing an old face back. You know who's coming out?
Yeah.
Pete, the producer, is coming out.
How's his shop doing? Did you go? Did they do the opening?
I did not, but I'll talk to him about it tomorrow night. So get in the car, you and your old lady, Frankie Sutphin. Come out to Long Beach tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. All right. That's all I got. Let's bring him in. Let's bring this man, this 35-year veteran who got on in 73, went through the war years. It's some busy-ass places.
He's seen some shit. He's worked with some great people.
He was also a fire marshal. Not only a fire marshal, he was the chief fire marshal. So I'm sure he's given a couple of, don't resist. You know what I mean? A couple of those with the butt of the, you know what I'm saying? Stop resisting, stop resisting, stop resisting. One of those type of things.
Oh, man.
We got a lot of questions for him because this is the very first fire marshal we've ever had on the show. So, Gons, you do a pleasure, man. Bring him in.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the stage. Please give us a round of applause for FDNY Chief Fire Marshal Louis Garcia. There he is. Welcome, Steve.
You know what you got yourself into? Have you figured that out yet?
I want to say one thing.
Wow.
One thing. I heard you guys talking about some sort of orgy. The orgy with you guys is ugly. There's nothing good about it. It's an ugly scene. Okay?
Hey, is that coming from experience? Can I ask you? Is that
coming from me looking at you guys' faces right now? And your bodies. This is an ugly scene.
I didn't say I was involved in the orgy. I said Gonzo would be involved in the orgy.
No,
I just got in trouble again.
Quickly passing the buck. Man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
All right, let's get patriotic before we dive into Mr. Don't call him Mr. Garcia. I almost effed up. Either call him Lou or Chief.
I called him Mr. Garcia in the email.
Before we get into the Chief's very long career, let's get patriotic.
All right, here we go.
In fact, you know what? I might hear this voice tomorrow night.
Oh, let's see. I'll have him do a new rendition. Here we go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Greatest country in the whole wide world.
That's it.
Amen.
Absolutely.
That.
All right, Chief. Let's get into it a little bit. Before you got on the job back in '73, when most of these guys in the chat probably weren't even alive yet. Were you born in '73?
Including me.
Not
even close. He was
20
years before I was born.
I was born in '72. Actually, New Year's Eve is my birthday. 72. It's coming up. The whole world celebrates my birthday.
Chief, he was kicking shit out of his diapers while you were getting it done on the fire floor. You know what I'm saying?
Doing it.
I was born in 49.
49?
Damn.
1849? Oh, no.
It feels like that now, I'll tell you that.
All right, let's talk about where'd you grow up? Tell us a little about the family life in the early Garcia days.
Well, I was born in the Bronx. I grew up mostly in Queens.
What part of Queens?
Astoria.
Oh, okay.
Astoria and Queens Village, Hollis, Queens Village.
Uh-huh.
I went to Brooklyn Technical High School. I was in public school. I was a public school kid, not a Catholic school kid.
Brooklyn Tech's was a hard school. It still is a hard school to get into.
Yeah. You had to take a test to get in there. I was always a good test taker.
Uh-huh.
Just always a good test taker. So I went to Brooklyn Tech, went to college, SUNY Farmingdale for a while, went to NYU for a while, never finished, I never got a bachelor's degree. And I left, I went to work for a bank. And in my neighborhood, Queens Village, it was a working class civil service type neighborhood. You had cops, firefighters, and guys who work in the union, Local 3. I worked in Local 3 when I was in college. My father was in Local 3 in construction. And I ended up taking the fire test and the police test. I scored very high in both of them. I got a 98 on the fire, 97 on the police. I was like 200 something on the list for the police, 302 on the fire. Fire called me first. I went to, and I had a lot of guys who were firefighters. They love the job. All firefighters love their job.
Mm-hmm.
And Pete Gansey will say that. All the firefighters love their job. So I went to the fire academy, which was on Welfare Island. The Rock was on Welfare Island, not where it is now. Not on Welfare Island. And I remember getting a call from my police investigator, and they called me out of ranks to take this phone call. And he says, would you be, I'm your police investigator. Would you be interested in going to the next police class? And I said, well, I'm in the fire academy now. I'm in probie school. The guy says, stay there, you're better off.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's what the guy said.
I have somebody that might disagree with that, but we'll
Who's
keep
that.
Mike?
Yeah,
MC.
Yeah, we know a guy. He might not like that.
Yeah, he's a big cop guy, MC. He loves the PD. So you made the right choice because you did 35 years in some busy companies.
Yeah. No.
Who was in your probie class? Anybody? Any names of recognition?
Well, Joe Dirks. He became a deputy commissioner. He became a deputy commissioner under Carlos Rivera.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny McGuire, who ended up owning Chauncey's. in Long Beach.
Oh yeah, that's right by me. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there were a couple other guys. I haven't. If I looked at the list now, I would let you know.
Right.
But there were a couple of guys that did very well in the fire department.
Right.
Oh, Joe Ramos. He ended up being chief of personnel. Joe Ramos. He was in my probie class. So he had about 3 or 4 staff chiefs that came out of that class.
How many? How big was the probie class?
About 250.
So
they were big in those days. They were big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you went in there, it's not like you lived on the island, so maybe you were volley first. You had no idea what to expect as a fireman.
No, all I did was I knew stories because I knew guys who were fighting. A friend of mine, Danny Rella, had been a firefighter. Another guy, Joe, was a firefighter. And they said, if you get on a job, it's always if you get on.
Yeah,
if you get on. So when I got on the job, they said, we want to come to a 211 engine. So I said, fine, because I knew nothing about firefighting. Nothing.
Right.
Zero. I thought it'd be something exciting to do. All right. And I thought it'd be good. You're helping people.
Right.
Which is nice, So I go to probie school and everything. And then this guy, Joe, and Danny says, well, we're going to arrange for you to go to 211 engine because Joe's in 211. So we all go. But now I'm in probie school. And by the end of probie school, I'm saying, I want to be in a truck. Okay. Now I want to be in a truck. Okay. But when I get assigned to 211. So now I'm in a 211 engine. But I'm glad I got assigned to an engine company only because you really don't put out a fire unless you have a hose. And unless you're on that knob, it's a good experience to be able to say you actually put water on the fire. And you work as a team. It's a good experience.
So you got there in March of '73, right?
Right.
So that was I would say that's the first maybe 25% early parts of the war years because the war years started like mid to late '60s, right?
Right. It was like more like 68. I think the war years really started. 68. If you talk to guys who were from the 63, 67, it wasn't quite 68, 69, 70.
Right.
With the war years. But the war years you had Brooklyn and the Bronx.
Yeah.
Brooklyn and the Bronx. You had the South Bronx. You had Brooklyn. You had Bed-Stuy, Williamsburg, Bed-Stuy, and East New York. It didn't get down to Flatbush yet.
That was later on, I think, Flatbush. Even now, I think Flatbush is doing more work.
In Brooklyn, yeah, now forget about it. Flatbush is it. But in those days, you had the talking truck companies, you had 108, 102, 111, 132, 123, 103, and 120 out in East New York. Those were the top trucks. And that time. And then you had a lot of single engines in there. 235,
217. Yeah.
17.
Yeah.
I mean, and everything worked like clockwork in Brooklyn. You had row frame, you had brownstones. You had projects which were a little different. Okay. Nobody wore masks in those days. No. We didn't wear masks. You went in, everybody knew each building, everybody knew what an apartment was like in each building, everybody knew how to get a window in each building. Engines were we had engine companies that would dump their booster tanks on a first floor fire and put the fire out with a booster. But it worked like everybody trusted each other.
Right.
First do, second do engines, first do, second. Everybody knew each other. We all worked together. It was pretty much by rote, and you had so much work and you had senior guys there who could teach you and officers who could teach you, and you got a lot of experience. It was really, really rewarding. You
learn the job pretty quick when you have that much work. Right?
You had to, and you did learn it. But you had, like I said, you had the senior guys who had been through it. You had officers who knew the job. I mean, when I was in 102, Dennis Cross, I can't name a better fire officer in the fire department.
Right.
Dennis Cross.
Who did you have? Who was your captain in 211 when you first got there?
Oh, geez. The captain, you know what? I don't remember his name. Eddie Acera was my lieutenant. Nick Bowden was the captain of 119 when I went over to 119. And I went over to 119 less than a year. I was in 119 truck.
Did you catch any work in 211 when you got there?
Yeah. They were doing 211 wasn't busy. They're only doing like 3,500 runs a year.
Well, which by today's standards is pretty.
Yes, today's standards it's a lot. But in those days, they weren't very busy.
Yeah.
Okay. 119 was doing maybe 4,000, 4,500 because they were a truck. 102 was doing 6,000, 6,500.
Right. Yeah.
You know, and then you had, of course, 103, and then they had 103.2, 103.1. In fact, at one point, 102 had a second section. Had a TCU unit. I mean, it was busy in those days. I mean, right. 103 was doing 8,000 runs. 111 was crazy. Everything was crazy, and occupied work too. 123 did a lot of occupied work.
Right. So, guys who don't know, TCU was a company that would come on like from 3 o'clock on or something.
Yeah, 3 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
And then you had the squads, and the squads would go. Squad 3 would go around the different firehouses to give relief to the engine companies.
Right.
They might go to 235 or 217 for certain hours to give the guys a rest. And then we used to have interchange. We'd have to interchange with 128 truck, or we had relief with 8 truck. 8 truck.
In Manhattan?
Yeah, in Manhattan.
Ghostbuster house.
We had too much work the night before. Then we go to 8 truck, but half the guys that weren't in the work the night before. So nobody really wanted to go to 8 truck.
Yeah.
Okay. But it ended up being the
Ghostbusters firehouse.
Yeah. It was a great firehouse because it had 3 floors, had long pole holes. It was very historic.
Right.
And we went there one night. We ended up catching a 5th alarm.
Oh, there you go. When you got on, you guys were still riding the back step, I presume?
Yes.
Yeah.
We were riding the back step, the side step, whatever.
No masks and riding the back step.
No masks.
Firefighter.
Now, on 211, we had one guy who put on a mask. And he would come up to see if he could relieve you on a knob if you were tired, but nobody really wanted to get relieved.
Right.
It was just
right. Some of the guys who came from your time would tell us that the doorman would bring a mask in case he had to relieve.
That's the mask man.
The mask man?
We call him the mask man. In 211, we call him the guy with the mask.
So he would be the door position in case you wanted relief. He had a mask. Yeah, which 9 times out of 10 that wasn't happening.
No, nobody wanted. But you know what? You're talking about a brownstone or a rope, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the windows are being taken. The truck companies knew what they were doing. I mean,
yeah. And back then it was wood burning. It wasn't shitty plastic and all this other shit that burned.
And you always knew you had a job because when you turned out, you could smell the wood smoke.
Right.
The wood
Nobody
smoke.
got time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. About you, I guess depending on which way you were running, you would run in with 102, right? I mean, that's what the
no. We ran 119 and 211. We ran in 102 and 209.
Yeah.
Mostly 119. 102 ran with 111, 108, and on bigger fires, 132. And 111. I mean, everybody was running. Everybody was going to fire. Everybody was going to fires.
Well, everybody was running 111 because they have a huge response area, man.
They did, and they were surrounded by guys like us.
Right.
Their response area was huge, but everybody was doing work. Occupied structural work was it. Dennis Cross we used to look at the numbers, and Dennis Cross used to tell us the numbers. Like I said, 119 was great. We had that. I had that. I mean, memorable fires. We had a Penn Street fire where 108 did a lot of rescues. I ended up grabbing a guy from 108 who was in the building. We were first due. 119 was first due. I was detailed to the truck that night, and it's in Williamsburg, acidic area. And we were coming down a block. We couldn't run down the block very fast because the smoke covered the road. We had to send somebody out in front of the truck so we wouldn't hit anybody.
Wow.
That's how thick the smoke was. 108 came from the north. They came down. They got there first, put the ladder up. Meanwhile, you had probably about 4 or 5 people died in that fire.
Really?
Fire set in the staircase. Now, I wasn't a fire marshal then.
Right.
But that would have been an incendiary fire for me. We went up the staircase, and the people who were the kids who were rescued came out of the dead man's room over the staircase in the brownstone.
Right.
Yeah, the dead man's room. So we got there second. So then there were handing kids out to the buckets and to the one-way ladder. One guy had a kid. He didn't know what to do with it. I went up to the fire escape next door and I grabbed the kid off of him and I carried the kid down.
Is that the picture? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's it. And I gave this kid mouth to mouth. So and when I got him downstairs. Now, I'm looking at that picture, and what strikes me is this is 1974. So now that kid's in his 50s.
Really?
That's how old I am. This kid looks like 6 years old. 1974 was like 49 years ago.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
You don't keep in contact with him, do you?
No. I know he survived.
Right.
I know the kid survived. You know,
was 108 in the new firehouse on Broadway yet, or were they in a different firehouse?
No, they weren't. They weren't in a single house then. They had gone to the other house.
Oh, on Broadway.
Yeah.
Right.
With 216. They weren't in a single house where Jerry Sullivan had a problem with the neighbors.
Right. Yeah. We'll leave it at that.
Chief, was that sorry, Kev, the Penta fire, was that the fifth alarm you were in the WNYF magazine?
Yeah, that's the Penta fire, but that's in Rescue 1.
Okay, got you. All right, I'll go back to that then. I just want to make sure we didn't miss that one.
I mean, in Brooklyn, 1977, I was in 102, 1977 blackout, the busiest night ever in the New York City Fire Department.
You worked in 102 that night?
Yes.
Oh, all right. We'll wait till we get to that. We got to go through. I want to hear about that. That's insane. So we were talking about this a little bit in the pre-show. Well, first let's get to the strike in '73. You guys went on strike, right? Before you went to 119. So
yeah, it was 1973. And in those days, you were done with your probation in 6 months. So I'm off probation in November. It was happening. It was a cold day in November, and it was a terrible day because the union guys voted. I voted against going on strike myself personally.
Right.
Vizzini is the union president. He said the strike vote was in. So we ended up striking that day. I forgot what day it was in November, but we ended up striking that day. And guys, it was terrible because guys who wanted to be our firefighters and know how significant their jobs are and they're there to save lives had roll call. In Brooklyn, we did roll calls. I didn't know in the Bronx they don't do roll calls. So I became a lieutenant.
Right.
In Brooklyn, everybody did a roll call in front of the rig. And you refused to work that day. You actually refused to work. You had to say to the chief. The chief was there and say, "Chief, I refuse to work." And he would say, "Leave the firehouse."
That had to be hard for a guy with 6 months on the job, man.
Well, it's hard for anybody, I think. Yeah. It's hard for anybody. And then we're worried about we ended up putting tools in our car, in case there was a fire in the neighborhood, we would go out and maybe help out. The officers were supposed to drive the rigs, but some of the officers said they weren't trained chauffeurs. It was a horrible day. In East New York, one of the companies rode and another company didn't ride. And they were at odds for the rest, maybe to this day. I don't know if they're still at odds. It was contentious between those companies, yes.
So how did they fill the companies if they just rode short?
Probies. They took Probies out.
Oh, shit, right.
111 truck was all Probies.
Yeah, that's not too dangerous, is it?
And you get a lot done safely that way.
And the union said, if do not Probies, you can ride. They didn't want. They could be fired. The rest of us end up with 2 days pay. Fine, 2 days pay. We're on strike for 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
Until they found out that Vizzini didn't have the votes.
Oh.
He was going to be arrested.
Ooh.
Someone told O'Hagan Vizzini didn't have the votes, and the truth was Vizzini never had the votes to strike. So
he was playing chicken.
Well, you know what? In the end, he did the wrong thing.
And he did the wrong thing.
It cost everybody 2 days' pay. People didn't really vote to strike. And then when the strike was over, it was very happy. We went back into the house, sat down, had a meal together. It was just a nice day to go back to our houses.
Wow. I can't believe that he didn't have the votes and he pulled the strike.
Did not have the votes.
Wow.
I mean, look at all the people who he put their lives in danger. You know,
You know what? Look. We had one fire in the neighborhood.
Right.
It was a vacant building. So we went to the fire. It was a vacant building. Nobody was going in. And they let the fire burn. That's fine. It's a vacant building. But
yeah, but that's just over by you guys. You talk about citywide. Who knows? You know, it could have been worse.
It didn't happen though. Citywide, there were fires. I think people were more careful,
right?
Because they knew the fire department was going on strike. I believe the civilians were more careful, and I believe some people who were going to burn buildings wouldn't do it that day. Okay, I just believe that the amount of fires that normally would happen in that period of time did not happen.
Right.
So I think that people were aware that the fire department. I mean, they were cognizant of it, and they didn't do things what they would have done.
Right, they put it on hold.
Yeah, they put their bullshit on hold.
Yeah. Doing the first strike, and then the strike. All right. So we had a guy on. I can't remember who it was, to tell you the truth, Chief, but it was a guy who got on in the '60s, he got on in the early '70s, and he said his first day of work, he came to the firehouse, and he met the guy in the house watch, and the guy said to him, "Welcome to the fire department. 2 things you don't have to worry about is going on strike and having women in the firehouse."
Well, we both know that went south. I mean,
both of them, right?
Yeah.
So when you came back, you automatically went to 119, or you put your paper in, or what happened?
No. I went to 119. I put my paper in for 102, 111, and 119 was the last one, but the captain of 119, Nick Bowden, who became a staff chief, he had me pushed over to 119. Okay. Which was fine. I liked the truck. I wanted to do truck work. Got laid off. Went to 104 because there was some sort of company where the federal government was giving them money or something. I don't know. So I went to 104, and then I got transferred to 102, which I wanted to go.
But before that, you were talking about the layoffs in the beginning, and you told me something that I had never heard of before.
What? Layoffs July 1st. On July 1st, 1975, we all had to report to our officer. We had to turn. It was sad. We turned in our badges because you take a civil service job, you're not getting laid off, right? You never thought you were going to go on strike either,
right?
And now you're getting laid off, and under the department order said termination. So you were terminated. They said you're really getting laid off, but it said termination.
Yeah, but just to read that, like, man, I'm getting terminated.
And then, I mean, everybody had. I just started a family. I just bought a house in Mineola, Long Island, for like $32,000. But at that time, you're making $10,000 a year,
right?
10.5 as a firefighter, and it was tough. It was tough. I have a kid on the way, and I got it. I'm laid off. And you're worried, but I mean, you can always find a job. You can always find a job.
A lot of guys said that they drove a bus, that they had bus driving jobs.
I drove a bus towards the end. I drove a bus also.
How long were you laid off for?
Huh?
How long were you laid off for?
A year and 1 month.
Wow, a whole year, huh?
A year.
The short bus or a regular bus?
No. It's a regular bus. It's funny driving a bus. The reason why we got the bus jobs is because the president of the union at that time, Mickey May, his brother was the president of the transit union.
Ah.
Right? So, and Mab Stoa was not in the MTA. They were a conglomeration of private bus companies. They had not gotten into the MTA yet, but they were under the same union. But they didn't have all the city benefits. So you didn't have to take a test to get into that, to drive their bus. So they arranged for the union to hire us as bus drivers. Okay?
Right.
And so now you're a bus driver. I did insurance work. I did security work. I did a lot of things. But, I was a bus driver. Bus driver, I'll tell you what, being a bus driver It's a tough job. It was a great job because you made as much money as a firefighter because you got a lot of overtime. Some of the firefighters put down the job in front of the guys that gave them the job. And I used to say to them, you know what? You're lucky you're working, so stop the bullshit with these guys. They're doing it for 45 years.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing it until you go back. I mean, really.
Yeah.
But so I'm out of the 100th Street garage. But the best thing is I know I'm not going to be doing this for the rest of my life. So I can drive a bus and do a lot of things with the bus.
Right.
You know, my first day as a bus driver, I had a little accident.
Little accident.
Yeah, here I'm driving a bus, and I have this old-time Irish guy who probably was a trolley car driver. It was a 96th Street crosstown bus, and he's with me, and he says, "Laddie, just don't get into an accident."
Don't get into an accident. Okay.
There's one rule.
That's what he's. Watch your turns. My first turn to go up to Madison, to go up 97th Street, to go through the park, I brush a car. It was at the light. He goes nuts. He's running up back and forth on a bus. Oh my God! Oh my Jesus! So, you know, I get out and I start talking to the driver. I said, "There's nothing wrong with your car. Okay, so can we forget about it?" And the guy says, "Sure." So we keep on going. So now the guy's nervous the rest of the time, you know. But we did the route, and he sat with me, and so now I got certified I could be on the street with the bus. So I had the 101s and the 102s, which went up first. I used to go up 3rd Avenue, all the way up to Fort George and back down Lex. Before I go up 3rd Avenue to 146th Street across, and then down Lexington Avenue. And the garage was on 100th Street in Manhattan.
Right.
And I remember one time I'm on the bus, and it was a Sunday, and I thought I was on the wrong bus. I thought I was on a 101. It was a 102. So I'm going through Harlem, and in Harlem on Sundays, all these little old ladies come out with bonnets and white gloves and Bibles. So I stopped at a bus stop to pick up this lady, and the lady says to me,
"Are you prepared?"
"No, on the front of your bus it says 102. You're not in your right route."
She knew.
She knew.
She goes,
Oh no!
"Oh, thank you. I forgot." Right. So I went past 146th Street. So I go, "Where's your church?" And she tells me where the church is, like down some side street. I take her right to the church.
Yeah, you owed that to her at least.
Yeah, right. And she goes, "Oh my God, I'm so blessed." So she had her own bus to go to the church.
I mean, you're going through some shady neighborhoods over there back in the day.
Yeah, you know what? All neighborhoods have good people. And nitwits. All neighborhoods.
Right. Just nitwits.
One time I'm on the 101. I'm going across 125th Street. But see, I can do this. It wasn't my career. I used to let people on the bus. If they didn't have money, I say put in whatever you can in the coin thing. You know. Even if someone saw it, what are they gonna do to me? You know. Right. So now I'm on 125th Street. I'm going across 125th Street. This is in July or August. It is hot. The bus doesn't have air conditioning. And I used to hate people going in the back door. I don't mind you coming up and begging to get in. I just don't want you to get in the back door and just think you're getting over, right? So this guy gets on the bus from the back door. I can tell him in the mirror. So I take the bus off. I go into the middle of 125th Street, shut the bus off, and I say, until the guy who just got on for free gets off, I'm not moving the bus.
They probably threw him through the window.
They did. Everybody turned around to the guy. The guy gave up immediately and got off the bus.
Come on.
Just another Bronx tale.
Right.
Except for in Harlem.
I know. I'm just saying. So I'm thinking of the Bronx tale with the story.
Yeah. But you can't believe the amount of different kinds of people get on a bus. It's just, to me, it was interesting. But like I said, I wasn't going to be doing this for 45 years.
But
right?
Did you guys know that you were going to be hired back? Like there's no question, or
I know we thought we were going to be hired back. I mean,
right.
I had what's that? The news station.
10-10 wins.
10-10 wins on every day.
Right.
And there would be announcements. There was bargaining. The city's getting money from the federal government. And finally, one day, I got hired back, and which was the best day of my life. I'll never forget what I did during that time period to make money for my family and my house.
Yeah.
You know, and being a bus driver is one of the things. I mean, there was a lot of crazy people getting on buses. And, it was nice people and nuts, you know, and you had to handle that.
Yep.
You had to handle this stuff. So anyway, I get back and I go to 104. 104 was great. It was in Williamsburg, South 2nd Street. Had a couple of fires. They had a tiller rig, so I got to drive the tiller, which was nice. You know. So, and then I went to 102, which was my best experience because I had the best teacher in the world, which was Dennis Cross, Jack Boyle, Billy Hewitson. Billy Hewitson ended up in Rescue 2. Charlie Stressler. They were all very experienced. That's Jackie Boyle. That was my best friend in the fire department. He went to Rescue 1 with me. But
who is that on the right?
Where?
In that picture.
That's what do you say? It's just Jackie Boyle.
And who else?
Him.
That's me.
That's you?
In uniform. A younger me.
A younger me.
That's what that is. So the two fires, I remember them. I mean, we had fires all the time. We always had fires. And you had we could have 2 or 3 fires a night. All right. Or a fire in a day, 2 fires a night. You know, in fact, in those days, we didn't do 24s. We didn't do 24s.
You got your balls beat in all night.
Right. Nobody did 24s. We didn't do 24s. To do a 24, you were doing someone a favor.
Right.
Because you're getting your ass kicked. You knew you were getting your ass kicked. So we really didn't. I didn't do it. I didn't see 24s until I went to Rescue 1. And only 2 guys were doing them because they lived far away. But anyway, the 2 fires I remember, 1977 blackout.
Yeah.
The lights in the firehouse go out. So, and we're just going to sit down and have a meal.
Yeah, it's about 7 or 8 o'clock, right? Somewhere around there.
Yeah, something like that. You know, on July, it was a hot night. I go out the front of the firehouse on Bedford Avenue. I look both ways. There's no lights on. There are no lights on the street. There's no lights on. Traffic lights are off. I mean, there are no lights. I come back in and I said, there's no lights on the avenue. And someone said, I don't remember the guy who did it, said, let's eat now because when we go out, we're never going back.
We're never coming back.
Right. So
it's almost like he knew.
We raided the commissary locker for lights for our helmets. We ate real fast. Sure enough, first box comes in. You could actually stand on the roof. You go to a fire. You could stand on the roof of that fire and pick out 4 or 5 other fires around you can go to. I have never seen anything like it in my life.
Right.
It was at one point the Brooklyn dispatcher is saying, are there any units available in Brooklyn? Bushwick was burning. Bushwick ended up burning 2 weeks later, really burnt down. But we were going up and down Broadway. There are people carrying couches, TV sets, going across Broadway. We're almost hitting them. Okay. There were people tying chains around gates on the storefronts, pulling the gates off. There were people shooting at each other across the street. Guys with shotguns in front of the cops were in caravans with shotguns. And it was like you were in a war zone. It was amazing. It was amazing. Crazy. And we went to about 3 or 4 fires. There were no engine. The last fire we went to was Broadway, and I think Van Alst or Van Dam. I forgot which street the cross street was. It was a furniture. It was a warehouse. Okay, and it's right on Broadway. And somebody, flags us down. There wasn't an alarm, but they came over the radio and said there's a fire here, and we got a big warehouse, and then there's smoke coming out from the basement. So we open up the gates to go down the basement. And I said, holy shit. So there's all this furniture burning. It's going across the ceiling. So here we are. with hooks and Halligans, no water.
No water.
No water. All right. So we're saying, can we take the hose off for the ladder pipe off the rig and maybe attach it to the hydrant to try to put out the fire? Because we're like, it's like we're jerking off there. We're looking at this thing, and so we're calling for an engine. About 40 minutes, no, not 40, maybe 30 minutes later, the first engine that arrives, 82 engine.
82 engine. How long did it take?
They were in Queens. They got relocated to Queens and came down to Brooklyn. The second new company was from Staten Island.
Oh my!
This is, I'm telling you, it was amazing. So now we're trying to fight the fire, but now it's like 3 floors ago. You know, in the end, we're like exhausted. Nobody's putting out this fire. It's too much fire. So myself, Dennis Cross, Billy Hewison was there too, and Jackie Boyle, and all the guys. We went down to exposure 3Z down the block on a roof,
3Z.
and we fell asleep. We actually put my helmet down. It was coming up. It was becoming dawn. We just like the building ended up collapsing anyway. And Brian O'Flaherty, who was an officer in 102, came and relieved Dennis and found us sleeping on a roof. You know,
Whoopsie.
I ended up with conjunctivitis of the eyes. I couldn't drive home. I had to go to the hospital because I couldn't see. And it was quite the evening. I have never been that busy. It was an experience of a lifetime. Anybody who worked that night caught a lot of fire duty.
Yeah, man.
You know, a lot of fire duty. You did your job, and it was quite the experience. The other fire in 102 was the fire where Jack Boyle made a rescue. So this is in the let me see what houses were they? They're by DeKalb Avenue, the Fort Greene houses. So they're high rise. We're not first due there. First due is 110.
110. Yep.
110's first due. 119 second due. Well, I don't know where they were. They called us to the fire. We ended up going there. We got kids that were hanging out like the 18th floor, you know, and coming out of two windows, some children and a mother and a daughter at another window. So, I mean, we're running up the stairs, and I had the roof or I had the OV, whatever it was, I had the rope, the roof one. And Jack's with me. He either had the OV or the roof. Yeah, we're together. And so we get up to the apartment above the fire, and here we are. We look out, there's the kids. Now, these are casement windows. All right. So you had the middle bar, the bar below, and you crank them out.
With the cranks.
Yeah. So I said, Jack, we gotta make a rescue here. I'm gonna go down the rope. He goes, Louis, you can't fit through the window.
I feel that.
I said, Jack. I said, I gotta go out. I got the rope. I brought the rope up. I get to go down the rope.
I'm going. Right. Yeah.
I'm going. I get up on the windowsill and trying to fit through. Jack's looking at me, and I can't fit. So,
you know what, Jack? You're right.
That's it. That was it. Jackie, you got it.
Yeah.
So I held the rope. He went down the floor below, and he took the kids in, and he got there, calmed the kids down. The smoke was coming out behind them. Meanwhile, Dennis, I know Dennis is going up to the door, the fire door. You know, I know Dennis is going to take the door.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt in my mind Dennis is going to force the door. All right, and the crew over there. So I passed down a Scott pack to him, you know, a dangler down to him, and he was able to give the kids some air. The mother and the daughter were at the other window, but they didn't have smoke coming out.
Mm.
Kids had. I think they left the door, the bedroom door open, and the fire was at the front door, which was at the time. If I was a fire marshal, I would have said somebody poured something underneath the front door.
Mm.
Okay, but I wasn't concerned with that because I'm a firefighter.
That wasn't in your realm yet, bro.
Yeah, right. It wasn't in my realm. And, you know, let's face it, being a firefighter is like instant gratification.
Right.
The best job in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You wait to go out. You're going to go out and do something fantastic to help people. You go out, you work hard, put out a fire. You did something good. Maybe you get a grab or something.
Mm-hmm.
You did something great. You go back to the firehouse and talk about it.
Yeah, he ain't lying.
Isn't that great?
Yes.
I tell people all the time, it's the closest thing to being a real life superhero.
That's right. There's what's not to love.
What's not to love?
You see a beginning, a middle, an end, and you're done.
Yeah.
You come back to wait to do the next time.
Yeah. And in between that, you have all the fun with the guys in the firehouse.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong.
What's great about
it's like Christmas every day.
That's right. So now, so Jack ended up getting the a medal, class 3 out of it. We got a unit citation. I'm very proud because every company I ever worked in, we got a unit citation while I was working. 104, 102, 119, 211. In each company, and Rescue 1, each company always got a unit citation, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, that was significant to me because Jack, as I said, was my best friend, you know, and I'm glad he got the medal, and it was a great day for his family.
I always think that even though the guy's putting himself in danger going over, they should give the guy who's lowering him something, bro, because that's, you know.
Well, we got a unit citation.
All right.
To me, it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. In the end, everybody knows what they did.
Right. Yeah, good point.
The satisfaction is what you know what you did. It's not a medal. It's not a, you know.
Yeah. Would you say
Jack never even wore his ribbons?
No?
No.
Wow.
He's very old school. When I first got on the job, the old timers never wore their ribbons. They didn't. They just, you know, they did their job.
Right.
I remember doing a job once where we grabbed some people, me and the lieutenant grabbed some guys out of the top floor of a row frame was burning. And unfortunately, I think I almost killed the guy, saving his life, but I fell down the stairs with him, you know.
Banged his head on every step on the way down.
Banged his head on it. And then at the bottom, his body ended up going through the banisters, and we had the balustrade at the end, at the newel post. So a guy from the squad comes in to grab him off me, and meanwhile the guy's back is against the newel post, going Anyway, I ended up picking him up and taking him out. But in the end, so what's good? Someone went over to Chief Dudkowski, was the deputy, and I'm like a new guy. I don't talk to chiefs, right? So someone said, you know, this firefighter did this rescue with the lieutenant, and the chief says, "Oh, good. I'm glad they did their job." That was it.
Yeah,
that was it.
That's old school, man.
Easy peasy.
That's where it was.
Where do you think you caught your most work? 102.
Well, the most work in 102. The different work was in Rescue 1.
Rescue 1, right? We'll get to that part, but
no, 102 was the most work, but there was work enough. I went back in 1989 as lieutenant.
Wait, 102?
No, in the Bronx.
Oh, the Bronx, right.
Yeah.
Oh, after you became fire marshal, right.
So that what they thought was busy, it wasn't as busy as it was, you know, in the 1970s.
Right.
What was busy to them wasn't busy to me.
Right.
You know.
Well, what's busy to them isn't busy today either, right?
It's perception, you know. But I worked in great companies up there as a lieutenant. But from in 102, like I said, I gained the most knowledge, firefighting knowledge, and how to make searches and how to conduct myself with a fire. And I will always give a lot of credit to Dennis Cross and Jack Boyle. Jack Boyle was a smart firefighter. You had to be smart. You know, we rushed in because we knew the buildings, but you had to be smart too. And Dennis was the ultimate firefighter to me. Dennis, he ended up dying 9/11. He went to Brooklyn Tech also. Dennis Cross, by the way.
Oh, did he?
And he was Brian O'Flaherty's best friend. Him and Brian grew up together in Queens Village. They grew up together.
Brooklyn Tech, right around the corner from 210.
Right, exactly down DeKalb Avenue. And Petey Hayden was in 210 or 110 truck. Petey Hayden was there. I knew Petey Hayden when he was in Rescue 2.
We're working on him.
You're working on Petey?
Yeah.
He's a good talker.
I call him Chief Hayden. I don't call him Petey. Maybe you call him Petey. I don't call him Petey.
I call him. I've been calling Petey for a long time.
Yeah.
I know him from Rockaway. It's a long story. Anyway.
Why, you in the Rockaways now?
No. But I had a lot of friends in the Rockaways.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you could swing a dead cat and hit a fireman in the Rockaways, bro.
I know. Well, 102, like I said, was where I learned how to fight fires. Going to Rescue 1 was a totally different experience.
All right, so let's talk about that. So you're in you're in 102 at the peak though, 1976, man. I mean, to 79.
Yeah.
That's like, it had to be hard for you to leave, no? I mean, you go to fires like crazy.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what, and I recommend this to anybody who's in the fire department. All right. Don't limit yourself because you think you have to be in one company for the rest of your life. Try to learn the job. Okay. Don't be afraid to transfer.
Yeah, I would agree with that if you're in the slow place, but if you're in 102 in 76, 70, 77, 78, 79,
you ride that shit as long as you can.
Right? I might have to think about going somewhere else, before I go there.
I'll tell you what. I was thinking of going to Rescue 2.
That was my next question. Why 1 instead of 2?
Okay. I was thinking of going to Rescue 2. And I go to Chief Duffy, James Duffy, 3-4 Battalion. And I said, Chief, what do you think about going to Rescue 2? He said, if I were you, I'd go to Rescue 1, Louis. I said, why? He said, you're doing the same job. When you go to Rescue 2, you're doing Brooklyn. See what Manhattan's like. It's a different place. He happened to have been in Rescue 1.
Right.
When he was a firefighter. O'Hagan was in Rescue 1. Tom Baldwin, who was the captain of Rescue 1 when I went there, everybody in Rescue 1 had been a Rescue 1 firefighter back by all the officers had been Rescue 1 firefighters. It was like a tradition in Rescue 1.
Are you talking about not Chief of Department O'Hagan, that guy?
Yeah, he was a captain in Rescue 1.
I had no idea that
he was. One time he was captain of Rescue 1.
How did he go from fireman to Chief of Department? I guess.
Tests.
Yeah, I'm confusing that with commissioner, right? I'm sorry, but Chief of Department, yeah.
Remember something. O'Hagan at one time held the Chief of Department's job and the commissioner's job at the same time.
Oh, I didn't even know that. So
yes, and it was the union had a big thing about this, and then they split the job up after him, but he held both jobs at one time.
I had no idea he was a Rescue 1 guy.
Yes.
Look at that.
So anyway, so I put in for Rescue 1. I wanted to see what Manhattan was like. I was kind of a free guy because I was recently divorced at that time. And so I wouldn't mind being in Manhattan. I want to see what Manhattan was like.
Right.
So I put in for it. They give me a tryout. So I get transferred there in March, but I went there actually in January of 79, I think. And it wasn't as busy as 102, but when you go to a fire in Manhattan, it's a different experience. The buildings are very diverse. When they say Manhattan's a Chief's fire and Brooklyn or the Bronx is a firefighter's fire, it's the truth. I mean, there you had buildings that were huge. You had fires. You went to apartments who were on fire on the Upper West Side or Upper East Side by Central Park. They were the whole floor.
Yeah. The
whole floor. Now you're searching a whole floor. It's not like you can know where the windows are. It's not like you know the apartment layout. And then, I mean, you had to take your time. You had to take your time there. And a high-rise fire, I mean, you just don't go in there and put out fires. You just don't.
No.
It's not what happens there. Basement fires in big basements. I mean,
sub-sellers.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you had there were some fires you had to stretch search lines.
Yeah.
Ropes. I mean, Macy's, when those 2 guys died in Macy's, I mean, their air ran out, but they were on a floor in Macy's because they couldn't get out. They didn't know how to get out. I mean, the Penta, that fire from the Penta Hotel. I went through 2 cylinders. I got lost at one point. We couldn't find the fire. We couldn't find the fire in that fifth alarm. I had to go downstairs, change cylinders, go back in. Me and Bobby.
How long were you in Rescue 1 at that point?
I don't know. I don't remember I don't even remember when the fire was, to tell you the truth.
We have pictures of that though, right, Guns?
Yeah, you have a picture of us after the fire.
Yeah, this guys after the fifth alarm.
That was afterwards. We were hanging out, and the photo unit came. Yeah, that one right there.
Yeah, look like you guys worked there, man.
Oh, we did. See, that's Spanky McAllister. That's Joe Angelini.
Where is Joe?
Right there. That's Joe Angelini, the guy right there.
The second from the right.
Died on line 11.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, right. I see him now.
Yeah. That's Bobby Burns, and that's me next to Joe. And
wow, look at that young fella over there, man. Woo, looks like a movie star.
See, all those guys in that picture, this is something that is part of the cost of being in the job. All those guys are dead.
Wow.
I'm the only one still alive. And they died. Well, 9/11, of course. Joe died 9/11. The rest of them died of cancer.
Yeah, man.
Okay?
Yep.
You know, but that fire, he went through 2 cylinders. We ended up finding where the fire was. It was in a ballroom. The fire actually burned itself out. When we forced the door finally, it was the most unusual thing in the world. There was a lot of heat, no flames, because all the ballroom furniture had been consumed. It was powder. All that was left was the metal framing of the tables and the chairs.
Wow.
I mean, and it took me 2 cylinders to try to find this fire. Okay, with Bobby Burns, and I think 4 trucks went in from the other side of the ballroom. I mean, that's different. That's a different kind of fire.
Yeah, that ain't no Brooklyn fire.
No, that's not a Brooklyn fire at all. You know, I mean, 14th Street. I remember 14th Street. We had a fire in a supermarket of smoldering cardboard boxes. No heat, no nothing. We get down to 14th Street. We go down the basement. I went through a coal chute in the sidewalk, and a lot of companies had gone down through the store itself, the supermarket, and we had cheaters that time, which we weren't supposed to have.
Allegedly.
Yeah. But listen, I had the cheater. What are you gonna do to me now?
Yeah, what are you gonna do now, bro? Come on. He's out since 08.
They're coming for you.
We had cheaters. Jimmy Curran had them made up for the rescue guys. I had a cheater, right? I'm down there, and there were guys going down left and right. I didn't know at the time. All of a sudden, I'm down there now. I have the cheater, but my nose is exposed, right? And all of a sudden, I start feeling like, I'm starting to feel like a little lightheaded. I want to sit down and relax. And I say to myself, Louis, you shouldn't be relaxing right now. I knew I had a problem. So I end up going back to the scuttle and going up this ladder. And on my head through the sidewalk, I put my arms out before I can go through back down. And they pulled me out. Meanwhile, they had guys going face down all over that basement because there was no heat. You could breathe the smoke, but it was all carbon monoxide now. Guys went down. Brian Clinton was the deputy chief at that time, and fire. And he goes, Louis, get the fuck out. I mean, that's what he started. Get out of that cellar. Don't you dare go back in there. So I wanted to go back in another way. And we ended up all in the hospital. The funny thing, you're in the hospital. And so now they got to take your blood gases, right? So they got to take it from an artery. So now I got this young doctor, and he's sticking me in my wrist. He's trying to find the artery. And I'm going, he stuck me like 10 times. I said, you know what you're doing? I mean, you can't find the freaking artery? What's wrong with you? He goes, well, I can go to your femoral artery. I said, which is inside your leg, right? I go, you're not doing that. Keep on doing the rest. Yeah. He finally found the artery, and we were all loaded with carbon monoxide. But that was funny, though, because the guy says, you want to go to the femoral artery? But those are the fires you had in Manhattan. Those are the things that loft fires. We were in a loft building one time. They had turned off the sprinklers, and you're in a factory. It's a factory loft way downtown. It's one of those cast iron buildings. Mm-hmm. You go into the window, and the fire's way in the back. We're trying to find a fire, and you go in there. It's a sewing machine. So we have material and sewing machines and stuff, right? All of a sudden, the fire's over your head. The fire's over your head, and all of a sudden it's starting to come down. When all of a sudden when it comes down, when it flashes over, and this thing came down. So now we're running to the windows where we came in through the bladder. So we're diving out the window, but there's 15-foot ceilings. When you're in an apartment in Brooklyn, when you can tell when it's going to flash over and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, your heat, you're closer to the heat.
Yep.
Here, this thing flashed like this.
Yep.
So now you're diving out a window. So that's what made Manhattan different. The diversity of the fire. Plus, I mean, we did a lot of rescue work and stuff like that. We used to practice diving off the Pier 1 with our Scott packs on. This before they had the scuba team. So we went down in the water with it. So I was a scuba diver, but when you go down with the Scott pack, all the air comes out real fast. You're going down. That was Jimmy Curran.
Who was in Rescue 1 when you got there? Was Hashag in there, or he came?
No, Hashag was there. No. Captain was Tom Baldwin. Lieutenants were Jimmy Curran, Tony Lindbergh, and Frank DeBellis. That's Jimmy Curran there. The guy right there is Jimmy Curran, and I'm next to Jimmy Curran. And that's Barry Mead, and that's Dick Martindale.
Look at this guy. He looks like a movie star. This guy, the mustache, bro.
I see a little tank in him.
Now I'm tank.
Hey, go back to that for a second.
I'm sorry. There you go.
The guy all the way on the left. What does he have on his belt?
I mean, that's what's good. The harness.
Back then, they had their own harnesses.
Yeah, at that time, yes. The rescue did. The rescue did.
Right.
The rescue did. I don't know if the whole job had him, but the rescue had him.
Right.
After Ernie Andraki was a chauffeur.
That's crazy.
And Jimmy Curran, of course, was one of the guys who started the burn center.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Jimmy Curran. He's one of the guys who started. He died. He ended up dying of cancer. But
that seems to be a common thread here, man.
It is. I'm telling you right now. The longer you live, it is a common thread.
Yeah.
So Jimmy, as I said, the first picture was the Rubber Axe Squad, which was my squad, and then of course when Tom Baldwin left, it's a funny story, but Brian O'Flaherty was a covering captain, and of course I knew Brian O'Flaherty from being in 102 with him.
102. Didn't he eventually get the spot?
Oh, he got the spot. This is a funny story. The funny story is these guys were predicting the next guy to come over was a guy who used to be a lieutenant there in Rescue 1, because nobody outside the rescues ever became a captain of Rescue 1. Rescue 1 was a big deal.
Right.
And it still is a big deal. It's a great company.
Yeah, big city rescue.
Yeah, it's a great company. Anyway, so I call up, I talked to the captain and I said, who's going to get the spot? And Baldwin said, well, I don't know, he says, people are going to put in for it and everything. And I said, well, I know I have this captain, Brian O'Flaherty. And now I know O'Flaherty knows Duffy and Duffy knows Baldwin. Okay. And at that time, the captains had a lot of say in who was going to not become the captain of Rescue 1, but who the firefighters were going to be and who the lieutenants were going to come over. Okay. So, but O'Flaherty had weight. So I call up O'Flaherty. I say, there's an opening in Rescue 1. He goes, "You're kidding me." I said, "No, Captain Baldwin is retiring." And he goes, "I didn't know that." I said, "Are you interested?" And he says, "Well, I was going to put in for Rescue 2. I said, "Well, it's either Rescue 2 or Rescue 1. Do what you got to do." I says, "If you got weight, do what you do." So he said, "Okay." So he put in for Rescue 1. Meanwhile, myself and Jack Boyle are going to all the guys in Rescue, and Boyle likes to break balls, right? He's saying Boffo is coming. So he's putting on the bathroom wall, just saying Boffo is coming, and they're all going, "Who is Boffo?" So and he's putting it on the chalkboards. Boffo is coming, and these guys were upset. Okay, who the hell is Boffo?
Right.
All of a sudden, one day, O'Flaherty walks in, and he's covering there. And so Boyle says, "Meet Brian O'Flaherty, Boffo."
There's Boffo, bro, and Boffo got the spot, right?
He got the spot, and he was a captain, I think, for 10 years.
That's a long time in Rescue.
Yeah, he was the captain. He was the captain in Rescue 1. In fact, he was the captain when Rescue 1. I was a fire marshal when Rescue 1 burnt down.
Oh yeah, when the quarters burnt down.
I was there. When Rescue 1 burnt down with their fire. So, but he ended up getting rebuilt politically. He ended up getting the whole place rebuilt.
Right
there on 43rd Street. But one of the fires, though, I do remember Rescue 1. I went. There was a lot of fires I went to, but the most tragic fire I went to. I mean, the most tragic fire was when Larry Fitzpatrick died, but I wasn't working that day. I knew Larry before I was a firefighter.
Right.
Queens Village. He was in Cambridge Heights. We used to be in the same bar league, softball league, and he died. He died with Frisbee when we went over on a rope in 1980.
Right.
He was one of the owners of Suspenders Bar.
Oh, that's right. From what company were they from? Not from.
He was a Rescue 3.
Oh, right. Okay. Right.
Rescue 3, and Tom Neary was a lieutenant that day, and Frisbee was his probie, and he was in 28 truck. And Larry and Tommy were best friends.
I think Neary just passed away, didn't he?
Yes, he did. I was there at the funeral. I helped the family with the funeral. Tommy Neary is a good friend of mine. We worked together in Suspenders.
Ah.
Okay. I was a bouncer and he was the bartender. Okay. So, which is what I did because I was divorced and I put out a lot of money there. I had to take care of the kids and everything. So, but
tell me about it, bro.
Yeah.
Been there.
Been there, did that.
Can't relate.
3 times.
Yeah. 3 times.
3 times.
Wow.
Yeah. He's like, wow, what?
It's 3 times. So Tommy, it was a very tragic. It was like a Greek tragedy, that fire, because Tommy's best friend Larry died trying to save his probie. Tommy Neary is actually Larry Fitzpatrick's Tara, her godfather.
Really?
Really.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Billy O'Mara was on the roof. He was the lieutenant, but everybody knew each other very well. It was really tragic. And I was home, and George Crucier.
Oh, from Mr. Yeah.
Huh?
We had him on too, George. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, George. He never shuts up. So anyway, George got his
book right there.
George, he got his book too, right? George Crucier can talk. Yeah. I don't mean it badly about George.
No, I know. Yeah.
I'm sorry, George, but George Crucier actually called me up at home and said, "Are you sitting down?" He said, "Larry Fitzpatrick just died." Quiet. It was terrible. It was such a tragic thing. But the other fire I could say is the first fire I was ever to where a firefighter died was in Rescue 1. was John McKenna. He was in 34 truck. Now, this fire is uptown, out of our district. It's Rescue 3's
box?
Yeah, that's Rescue 3's. This is up on 200-something Street.
Oh, shit, yeah, that's that
Inwood. It's up by Inwood. Yeah, it was 200-something Street or about 190-something Street. You know, it was up there, Inwood. And we're on our way up there. We get called up there as the rescue. And we're waiting, and we can listen to the radio in the back of the rig. And we don't hear anything. All we heard was a 1075, then a second alarm. We hear nothing. Because we're anticipating we're going to be turned back. By this time, the fire chute put out.
Right.
And we had traffic on the...
if you're going up to 220th Street.
That's right, right.
Yeah, man.
Hudson. There was traffic. We finally get there.
Oh, shit.
And they transmit a Mayday. And this poor guy, John McKenna, had fallen through the roof collapsed and right into the fire.
Ugh.
So we kind of break up. We're gonna try to get him through the wall, you know, and Norman Newkirk's going up the back. Anyway, what happened was he fell through the roof into his kitchen, which was on the fire escape, and the fire was there. He went right into the seat of the fire. He went out the window, and he went on a fire escape.
Mm-hmm.
Norman Newkirk, who was in rescue, was going up the rear, and he saw him come out the window. Sometimes I wish he would have gone out the window that didn't have the fire escape, because I mean he got burned so badly.
Oh man, yeah, that's bad.
He ended up dying right after Patty's Day. This was in February. He ended up dying maybe a month or 3 weeks later in the burn center. He was a young guy. He was a probie.
Mm.
He was a probie. And so he goes out and he tumbles down the fire escape because Norman saw him, goes in the window. He tells us where he is. So we all go up there. And now we have him and we're trying to treat him. He was badly burned. You know, I can say badly burned, okay? Yeah. But he was still alive. And we put him in the Stokes. We treat him, we water, we did what we had to do as a rescue. And what I always remember in this fire was he talked. He was able to talk in the beginning, and he said, I'm hot, and so we're going to take care of you, we're calming him down. And then by the end, after we got him to the Stokes and wrapped him up, he kind of like went into shock.
Uh-huh.
He wasn't talking anymore. And to get him down the stairs, it was a narrow staircase. It was an H-type building, but it had a narrow staircase. It wasn't that. It was I was at the bottom of the Stokes, and Mr. Riley.
Somebody just asked if you ever worked with Mr. Riley.
Well, it was Mr. Riley, senior man at Rescue 1. He was at the top of the Stokes, and we negotiated the staircase all the way down. And it was just saying I was the newest guy, and he was the oldest guy. And we're taking down a critically injured firefighter.
Right.
And when we got down the bottom of the stairs, Rescue 3 had come. And they said, we'll take the Stokes. And I said, fine. Yeah, and they took the Stokes. And there's a picture of WNYF of them taking the Stokes to put it on Rescue 3's rig.
You got that, Guns, that picture?
Which one is it? I'm sorry. I was reading.
WNYF?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one right there. It's the same one.
No, WNYF.
Come on, Pete.
You have that picture. It's in WNYF.
Oh.
I don't have pictures of Rescue 3.
Oh, I thought you said that one.
Okay. No, it was only the 8. Phew. That's what I had one marked.
Yeah, so now it was in WNYF, and it was a solemn thing. They took him to the burn center. He died. Unfortunately, he succumbed to his injuries.
That's a horrible way to die, man. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm telling you, to see him, and I'm telling you, you don't want to. You don't. I mean, I've seen a lot of roasts.
Right.
As a fire marshal, a lot of roasts.
I was just gonna say you must have saw a ton of them as a fire marshal too.
Yeah. But this was. I mean, the most they were all dead. This one, he was still alive, and like I said, I mean, I don't know how his family. I was. He should have gone out the window.
Right.
Okay.
It would have been much easier for him, no doubt.
Yes, it would have been much easier for him. But and like I said, Rescue 1 was a great experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had taken the fire marshal's test.
I was just going to ask you. So you're like a man in a traveling band, bro. You're living up to what you said. You shouldn't stay in one place.
So I took the fire marshal's test, and I passed it. I never studied for these tests. I never studied for any of these tests.
Well, you said you were a good test taker.
The only test I ever studied for was fire marshal. But I just ended up passing it. Anyway, so now they called me for the marshals, and I said, you're going to go to Marshal. I said, I'm going to try it out. As long as you have a place where if I want to go back, I'll go back, come back. And they said, you can come back anytime you want. Okay. So I go to the Marshal. I go to Marshal school. And all I can say about being a Marshal is extremely interesting. It's not for everybody. If you want to be in a firefighter, if you want to be a firefighter, be a hero, go out there with the guys, teamwork, because the whole thing about firehouse is teamwork.
Right.
The engines are teamwork. Everything is teamwork. And with the guys you're working with, you got to trust them. Everything revolves around that and the company, as it should. As it should. The Marshals is totally different. It's a police function. It's a specialized police function. And what you saw, what was striking about being in the Marshals, after I went, when you leave school and all that stuff, you have to carry a gun. That's not for everybody. At that time, they were doing the Red Cap program. They started.
That's on my questions. Is the Red Cap? Were you part of the Red Caps?
No, they didn't put me in the Red Cap. They put me in a regular base. Only 2 guys didn't go to regular base. For some reason, they put me in Brooklyn base.
So for the guys who don't know out there, what were the Red Caps?
The Red Caps were a force of fire marshals. We had about 400 people in the Marshals at that time. It was under what's his name? Charlie Hines. Joe Hines.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Hines. And the chief fire marshal was John Regan. And it was they would go to high fires of high incidents, like East New York or Bedford-Stuyvesant, and they used to run with companies to the boxes. And they used to observe boxes for false alarms. They would be on the scene immediately. They had red caps on, guns, and they would start investigating immediately. And they were there real fast to talk to witnesses and everything. And they put, vacant buildings under surveillance. And they cut down fire duty. They really did cut down. They did some good work there doing that.
Right.
Responding right away.
Well, that was part of the problem with the war years, right? I mean, there was so many things going on as far as, the insurance payouts to the landlords for getting all this money that the buildings weren't really worth, the city being complacent in having it burned down to regentrify. So there was so much shit going on that I think red caps were just like necessary at that point, right?
They were, and you're totally right about the insurance companies, the federal money coming in when they did the South Bronx. Landlords kept on burning the same buildings over and over again.
Right.
They did. They did it in Brooklyn too. And they would burn the same building over and getting money each time.
Yep.
The other thing, there was favorable laws for housing and projects.
Oh, so they were burning themselves out, right, to get to the top of the list.
If you had a fire,
in
your building, you were put on top of the list to get the housing project. And the housing project was more desirable.
Right.
Plus, they would give you money for your furniture.
So you get money. They said that they used to pull up and the people would be sitting at the curb with all this shit, right?
Yeah, that happened. It's not as much as they say. They like to say
embellish.
But it did happen.
Right.
It did happen. And for all those reasons, or the landlord would tell them, they would put out the word, I'm burning out tonight. Might as well bring your stuff out. And they knew they were going to get housing anyway, and they'd be on the top of the list in the projects. It was a lot of convenience for a lot of people for buildings to burn.
Right.
Okay. And that's why there were a lot of fires. That's why the city went. And I mean, you're talking, we're going bankrupt in the 70s, right? I mean, that's the reason there were a lot of fires, and people were making a lot of money off of it.
Right. It was the perfect storm for the war years, really. Everything coming together.
So now. they had these people making money, and so the red caps were in existence, but they put me in a regular basis, a regular investigator. And what you saw as a firefighter, you got to go out and put out the fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do some maybe make a grab, but he always put out the fire, and he did something good.
Right.
It was very satisfying. As a fire marshal, you saw the aftermath.
Right.
Now you're
wreckage. Yeah.
Now you're dealing with the people who lost their homes, who lost a loved one.
All their personal belongings gone.
You're talking to them.
Right.
And you're trying to find out if it was incendiary. You also were trained to see if the fire is incendiary or not. But you're talking to people who are bereaved, who may have lost their children.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a totally different experience.
Right.
And I took to it because I thought it was interesting. Being a fire marshal, I could be talking to somebody on the Upper East Side that's a multimillionaire, or talking to somebody in a ghetto who's a welfare recipient.
Right.
And all in one tour.
Wow. Right.
Some of the stuff was redundant. He did it over and over again. But the cases that mattered, and you had to be able to arrest someone. And that's not for every firefighter.
Uh-huh.
Most firefighters want to be good guys.
Right.
Arresting someone is not in their bailiwick.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of guys went back. They would take the promotion and they'd go back to their companies.
Right.
In that time period. I found it interesting. And and in the Marshals, it's your partner. It's not the team is just you and your partner. Mm-hmm. You're in a car by yourselves. And you get jobs and you're going out by yourselves.
Right.
So it's not the firehouse. Even going back to your base, it's not the firehouse.
Right.
You all eat together. It's not where you're talking about fire duty. It's very individualistic, and it's all about information and doing your job and writing reports. And you're writing reports.
What did you ever feel that similar satisfaction when you arrested a guy and put him away? Like,
no, you don't have the same satisfaction as the firehouse. You don't.
No.
You have the satisfaction that you worked very hard to solve something.
Right.
And you did it. And there was sometimes satisfaction that you gave justice. For instance, I had a fire up in Tiffany Avenue, 4th Lawn Fire, Tiffany Avenue in the Bronx, right? Tiffany and Westchester Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
A social club up there. This fella was living with the owner of the social club, was a Puerto Rican woman. He was from Dominican Republic. He was brutalizing her, and he was taking her money. Meanwhile, her daughter worked in the club, and at one point, this is what happened that day. The daughter's boyfriend, and this guy was a little nothing. The daughter's boyfriend was sick and tired. He wouldn't let the mother go out and take a shower. He was locked up in a loft room in the social club. And so the daughter's boyfriend, beats him up. They had an altercation, and he kicked his ass. The guy goes out. He says he's coming back. All right. So now he does come back. Meanwhile, they take the mother and they tell the mother to go to your sister's house. The guy comes back from the outside through a window, pours gasoline into the loft part and into the club, lights it up, right, and walks away. Now you got this. It's a taxpayer. You got the whole social club going. You had one guy there who was a drunk who got out. The place is going merrily, right? It's really going. The daughter is out. Everybody's out of the building. Everybody's out of the building. The boyfriend, the daughter. The daughter goes back in to get money from the register. She dies.
Oh.
So she dies in the fire. Now it's a homicide.
Mm-hmm.
Once a fire marshal determines the fire to be incendiary, mm-hmm. I don't care if it's on the first floor and someone jumps out the 10th floor window. That's a homicide because someone died in the commission of a felony.
Right.
So that's a homicide. So now it's a homicide. When I get there, this poor girl's dead. And we start talking, and people are pissed off at this guy. So they give him up. They actually give him. They say, yeah, we saw him do this. And the guy who was the drunk guy inside the place, he said he did it. And they said, he's going to go back to the Dominican Republic. I said, so I left the fire company there to guard the scene. And I found, they gave us an address. I went up to the apartment. His aunt let us in. He's in bed, but his clothes smell of gasoline. I get him out of bed. I said, you come with me, you know. So I got him in the car. He comes with me. I got him in handcuffs. We go into the physical. This guy, Bob Latimer, was with me. And it's incendiary. It's a gasoline pour. It's everything's there. The patterns are there. We're taking pictures and everything. So now we're going to take him to the detectives come from the precinct. Goes, what do you got? Is it a homicide? He goes, yeah, it's a homicide. I said, the guy's in the car with me. She goes, well, we got to take him. I said, no, you wait for me. I'll take him in. Okay. Meanwhile, they got half the neighborhood in there giving him up. Everybody was just pissed off with this guy.
Right.
Right. So we take him to the precinct. It was a 4-2. It was 4-1 in Fort Apache.
Mm-hmm.
It was the 4-1 precinct. I bring him in. So I have the arson DA there and the homicide DA. So I had to give up the rest of the cops because the homicide DA won out. Okay. So the detectives say, thank you very much. And they end up in a newspaper. And he said, that was great. You put us in the newspaper.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, you know.
Was that was your press conference one? No.
No, that's another one.
Okay.
That's in Manhattan.
Okay.
They wouldn't have a press conference for the Bronx like that.
Oh, that's right. You said that before.
That I had to do the trial. The cops didn't do a trial because I had the cause and origin. I had all the witness statements and stuff like that, you know. And so I did the trial, and it was satisfying. What was interesting about that trial, Larry Davis' trial with Kunstler was the next courtroom over. And they were having that trial, and a lot of people were there for that trial, and I'm having my trial. Meanwhile, the guy got convicted. He went away, and that's satisfaction. The girl's family knows that the guy who did it went to jail. All right. Another one was the Holland Hotel on 42nd Street, 8th Avenue. That was a welfare hotel. And it was on the 14th floor. It was like a third alarm fire on 14th floor. And what was interesting about this case is that the guy who did it was a guy named Science. That's his nickname. We don't know who Science is. And he had these women selling crack for them in the hotel. So these guys are 20-something. They're 20-somethings. The worst, most violent criminals you want to meet are people in their teens and their early 20s. Because, first of all, they have no sense of justice and no sense of what's right or wrong. And they're violent because they're violent. They've lived a violent life their whole lives, you know? And so this guy, Science, we don't know who he is. We have, what was her name now? I'm trying to think of her name. I'll think of it in a second. Oh, Clarice. Clarice was the woman's name. So they had come the day before, him and another guy named Free. Because his name was Born Free. All right.
Okay.
So
it checks out.
So they come over and they want to collect money from them. Now, these women, they're doing tricks on the side and they're selling crack, but they use crack. So they never really have the money to give them, the amount of money they're supposed to give them. So they're always pissed off and beating them up. All right. So they knock these women around. They say they're going to come back tomorrow and you have to have the money. And there's one guy, Bourne. His name was Jeffrey Bourne, but they call him Free. He took a sawed-off shotgun and put it to Clarice's daughter's, Rakia, her head, and say, I'm going to shoot her if you don't have the money by tomorrow. So this is an 11-year-old girl. It's an 11-year-old girl. Okay. So I'm kind of pissed at that this is happening like this. Okay. So they come back the next day. Only Science, his name was Anthony Barnes, really. Science comes back and he starts the fire. He beats her up, and then he starts her mattress on fire, which spreads to the whole floor. Okay. Now we have so it was a second or third alarm fire. And when I go there, I talk to Clarice, and I talk to the other woman, and they say, yeah, they will beat up this guy, beat her up, blah, blah. And they give me their names, but it's their nicknames. I said, well, do you know where they live? And they lived in the Coney Island projects. Mm. So now they're from Coney Island. They're coming into Manhattan doing this stuff. And I go to the Coney Island projects, and luckily they have the housing police at that time. Mm. And the housing detectives. They knew every family in these projects, and they had nickname files. And one of their guys was named Flip. His last name was Wilson. Flip Wilson. So when they came up with his name, with his nickname, all his associates, they came up with their names. Mm-hmm. And Science was Anthony Barnes, and Free was Jeffrey Born Free. Okay. Shit. And they all knew him in the projects, and they all knew where they were. Luckily, Anthony Barnes was on parole, and he had to go see his parole officer. So we picked him up when he went to parole officer. I grabbed him out of there. So now we arrest him. We take him in. I want to arrest this guy, Jeffrey Bourne, because Jeffrey Bourne put the shotgun to this little girl's head. So we go to where he lives in the Coney Island projects. He was home. He jumps out the second floor, jumps out the back window, right, and runs away. I'm not jumping out the second floor window. I'm not. So we go out
first.
I wouldn't jump out the first. Anyway, so I couldn't. We didn't get him, and I feel bad to this day we didn't get him, because I get a call a couple of weeks later from homicide detectives. He had killed 3 women in Brooklyn, shotgunned them all in the back of the head.
Oh my God!
Because they did not have the money for the drugs he had himself. He killed a grandmother, a mother, and a mother's daughter, teenage daughter.
What a stand-up guy.
Yeah. He ended up getting caught in the Carolinas. Mm. So if they called me up just to find out if I knew where he was, if I could tell them, because they knew it was part of my investigation. Mm-hmm. Be awesome. I feel bad I never got him. But Anthony Barnes was interesting only because Clarice, who's a crack addict, I took her to the grand jury. Now, before I take her to the grand jury to indict this guy, my partner, Ross Kazanov, was outside with the little girl. Now, she's an 11-year-old daughter, 11-year-old girl, and she had a baby brother. And she was taking care, she was the adult in the family. She was taking care of the child.
11 years old.
11 years old. She was the one when the food wagon came, went down, got food for her mother, because the mother didn't get up until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon because she was out all night. Mm. Okay. So I never had this happen to me. The Ross says, I come back, I get Clarice out of bed. I said, get the hell up, get out of bed. I took the covers off. I said, Clarice, you got to go with me. I said, I'll buy you lunch too. So now I go outside, and Rakia Ross says, listen to what she has to say. And she says, I can't live with my mother anymore. I have never heard a child, even a child who's abused, say this. And I said, you know what this means? There was a welfare office in the hotel, by the way. I said, if I tell the welfare office, they're going to take you away from your mom. You're not going to be with her anymore. She goes, but I want to take my brother with me. I said, well, your brother's going to leave too, but I can't guarantee you two are going to be together. I mean, I'm talking to an 11-year-old child. Mm. This is some choices this kid's making, right? And she says, no, we can't stay here anymore. So we arranged for the welfare people to take them after we left because I wanted her cooperation. So we bring her back. She did fine with the grand jury. She's intelligent. She's just a drug addict. Bring her back. I get a call. I got her back probably around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I didn't get a call until 10 o'clock that night saying, "Where's my daughter?" So 10 o'clock that night, she called me and said, "Rakia, your daughter is with the welfare people." "What do you mean? You took my daughter away from me?" I said, "I didn't take your daughter from you. Your daughter can't live with you anymore. You're doing drugs. You're having people come around putting shotguns to her head. The welfare people took her." And she was really upset about that, of course.
Well, tough shit.
We go to the trial now. This is 8 months later. She's living in Brooklyn. She does not have Rakia yet. She has to be sober a certain amount of time to get the child back. So, and I don't know where the child is. She's in foster care. I don't know what she is. So she has to go. I want her to go to trial now. She has to testify at the trial, and she's giving me a hard time. But I finally convinced her to come to testify at the trial. Now, Elise Becker is the DA, and Clarice sits down, and they're going over her testimony, and she's being a bitch. She's just saying, I don't know why you guys ask me these questions. I already answered these questions. She's just being intolerable. So Elise takes me outside. She says, "I can't put her on the stand." I said, "Believe me, when she gets on the stand, she'll do the right thing. When she gets on the stand, she will do the right thing." He goes, "Louis," I said, "Believe me, she's not dumb. She just doesn't like be telling the same story over and over again." So Elise goes with what I said. She gets on the stand, and they go over her history. You got to say she's a drug addict. She's this, she's that. She's been arrested, prosecuted. They go through this whole thing. And then the guy does the cross-examination. And now she pointed out Anthony Barnes already. And he says to her, "Well, Miss, I forgot her last name." Starts asking him a question. I said, and she says to the defense attorney, he goes, "I don't care to answer any more of your questions. He did it. I know he did it. The cops know he did it. The prosecutor knows he did it. And the jury knows now he did it. The guy lit the fire." The defense guy said, "No more questions." That was the end of that.
Wow, man.
So now he's in court with a Bible. The guy showed up in court with a Bible and a suit. So he got convicted, and they had to do 20 years in jail. They put him in for 12.
That's where he belongs.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. So those were the types of things that you saw. I saw a lot of fires, and Biltmore Theater fire. Biltmore Theater was that's a satisfying case. The Biltmore Theater tried to burn up the Biltmore Theater on 47th Street, which is a landmark building, right? Landmarked inside and outside. This guy from Williamsburg buys the building for air rights, but the air rights don't really exist because it's a landmark building for some reason. It didn't work out for him. Now he owns a theater, and his people don't even go to theaters. All right, so he tries to burn it up. And I come into work the morning of the fire, and the marshals were over there that night. And I was a fire marshal in the Special Investigations Unit in Manhattan. So they give me the case. I go over there, and they set 2 separate fires in the place. And they had a timing device, and there were garbage cans full of gasoline. One on the stage and one on the first floor, the first row of seats. And it had a timing. I'm not going to tell you how they set the thing up, but I don't want people to learn how to do it. But they set it up with a timing device. So the idiots who put the fires in those places, the only place that's sprinklered in the theater is the stage. The only place it's sprinkled.
That's where they put it.
Yeah. And now it's garbage can. It's a garbage can full of gasoline. What's going to happen is the gasoline burns on top of the garbage can. It's not going to, it's going to burn down, because eventually, after a while, burn down, the plastic will burn down where it'll spread. But it's not, 4 trucks around the corner, 47th Street. right? 4 trucks on 48th Street, 54 inch. So they get there. They had turned the sprinkler off, though. No, the sprinkler was working. I'm sorry. They didn't turn it off. The sprinkler was working, but the alarm went off, the central alarm, and they got there real fast. So it really didn't burn the place down. And it was minimal damage in the seats in the first row, and there was a lot of smoke damage. So now the guy didn't succeed, right? So the owner of the building, I know who he was. It was a key job. There was no forced entry, but a lot of people had the keys. A lot of people had keys. All the department heads, like the electronics guy, the electrician, the scenic designer, a lot of people who had the trades had keys to this thing. So you never really couldn't pin anything down. I even went to locksmiths, and I went to a lot of places. Anyway, it took me 3 months, but I'm still investigating this case. This guy borrowed money for this building, borrowed some millions of dollars, right? And he borrowed it from a factor, not a bank. So they have factors. Factors usually they finance like fashion stuff. They're like Shylocks, so they're illegal.
I thought he borrowed it from Vinny and Johnny, maybe.
No, it's illegal Vinny and Johnny.
Oh, all right, gotcha.
It's illegal Vinny and Johnny, okay? And they call factors. Anyway, so now I find out where they borrowed the money. So I go over there, and I have a subpoena. Fire marshals can give administrative subpoenas for documents. Cops can't do that. Fire marshals can. So I give him a subpoena, and they give me his application for the loan. With the application is his tax returns. You can never really get tax returns, not even from the feds. His tax returns are part of the application. Here's the guy he has 3 years of tax returns, makes $25,000 a year. He owns $10 million in real estate in New York City.
Something seems off.
Yeah, all right. Now I got a little bit. I know. I got this cardboard box full of records, and I'm not an accountant. I know something's wrong, right? I'm not going to go through all these records. So I end up going to the IRS. I say, listen, I know this guy did this fire. I can't get him for the fire, but I know this is wrong. The IRS, a year later, called me up to see if I want to go to the sentencing. So
what do you get?
He's getting 5 years in the federal prison, and they had him for money laundering and tax evasion.
And all he got was 5 years?
That's all he got. Look, that's better than nothing.
Yeah, true that.
The theater's still there, and nobody got hurt.
Right.
And the guy.
Hey, Moose, Rocco, help the judge find his checkbook, will you?
Sorry, let's throw that in there. Sorry.
And this guy didn't want to go to prison. He's not the type of guy who goes in prison.
It's like Gonzo.
Right. He's from Williamsburg. He lives on Lee Avenue.
Oh, I got you.
Okay.
Really quick, not to change gears, but did you know this guy? Did you work with him?
Ronnie, of course I knew Ronnie.
Ronnie Boca.
Yeah.
Only
best friend.
Ronnie, I wasn't in Rescue 1 with him. He came after me. Ronnie was a fire marshal, and he's the only fire marshal who died in 9/11.
Yeah, that's why I figured as much.
He was up there with Oriole Palmer up on the 78th floor.
That's pretty high up, man. I think he got the height.
He was a good runner. He was very good shape. I remember going to Eve's house, his wife's house, with a flag after we found him. They found him in the pot. That's 9/11's as a fire marshal we did. There's a lot of stuff people don't know what we did in 9/11. Where am I right now? Rescue. I was in the fire marshal.
Yeah, we gotta push forward a little. We're getting a little late at 1:49. So where do you want to? What?
How long have we been talking?
An hour and 49 minutes.
You gotta be kidding me.
No,
it goes fast.
I told you it goes by quick.
Man, it does.
Anyway,
so where do you want to bring it all to a head? Because you got something left. You went back to fighting fire as a lieutenant.
Yes,
you went back to
the Bronx.
Then you went back to supervising fire marshal.
Yes, I did very well on the supervising fire marshal test, so I was number 8 on the list. I got hired back. I was lieutenant for 10 months. Went to the Bronx. Had a good time. The companies I worked, the best companies I worked in were I liked working in was 19 truck, 50 engine, 49 truck. I loved working in those companies. And we caught some fires.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed myself. But once you're a fire marshal and now you go back to the firehouse, even though I'm a lieutenant. First of all, I wanted to do a roll call. I found out nobody does roll call in the Bronx.
Not in the Bronx, bro.
Nobody does a roll call in the Bronx. So one thing was I could do paperwork. Typing, a lot of new lieutenants can't type. They don't know how to do paperwork. I can get out.
Brothers love you for doing the overtime reports.
Yeah. So
overtime.
Anyway, I had a good time. Got called back to be a supervising fire marshal.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Manhattan. I went to the Bronx first. Then they opened Manhattan after Giuliani became mayor. I went as the executive officer in Manhattan, which I loved. And the deputy chief in charge of Manhattan, I was the executive officer as a supervisor. He ended up in a motorcycle accident, and I ended up being the acting deputy chief for Manhattan. And I mean, Manhattan is like the center of the world. I mean, anything happens in Manhattan, you got cameras, you got newspaper stories.
They're on it quick.
Huh?
They're on it quick.
Oh, yes, they are.
So you went all the way to chief of the fire marshals?
Yes.
So what is that, like a 3-star chief? And then,
yeah.
Wow, that's.
I was assistant chief first, chief of operations, assistant chief, and then I went to chief fire marshal. I mean, look, in the marshals. While I was in the marshals, what I'm most proud of is we computerized the whole bureau. We did training. We did a whole new training program, which was much longer, and also has you get credits, like 30 or 40 college credits,
right,
for being in the program. We also, because of 9/11, I ended up getting uniforms, having uniforms made for fire marshals. We designed uniforms for fire marshals.
Oh, because they were always wearing suits, right?
Yeah, they were always in suits, but after 9/11, they wanted to go to funerals.
Mm-hmm.
And I find, a lot of fire marshals didn't want uniforms, and a lot of them did, but they were all wearing their firefighter uniforms. So I went to Sal Casano and Scopetta, and basically we took a modified firefighter's uniform, because if you know Marine engineers and Marine pilots, they have a firefighter's uniform, except their cap device is that of a pilot or an engineer. Okay.
So was that that was your dress uniform?
That's my dress uniform. That's my dress uniform. I'm saying for, let's say, a firefighter's uniform,
right?
Fire marshal, they have a firefighter uniform, right? They have different cap devices.
Oh, okay.
So it was very simple, because we already had that for the Marine division.
Right.
We already had people in the Marine division who had different devices. And for supervising fire marshals, they just got lieutenant uniforms with different cap devices. And for the chiefs, the different uniform with different cap devices, same uniform.
Right.
So it was pretty easy to adapt. And Cassandra went right along with it. He thought it was fine. And we finally gave them uniforms. We computerized the bureau, and the training. I forgot what we did actually. The fireworks task force that was under Safer. Safer wanted a fireworks task force, and we actually made a dent on 4th of July. The first year we had it.
But you don't. I was saying that you don't even see fireworks in the city on the 4th of July anymore. Not like you used to.
There's some in the city, but at one point it was the busiest night in the fire.
Yes, everybody wanted to work
the
4th of July.
Back in the 90s, right? It was like crazy.
It was the busiest. What we did was we formed a task force with the cops and ATF and Safer. I mean, the first night we had a task force, we went out and made some arrests and down in Chinatown, and Safer got to have his photo op with the newspapers. We confiscated cars, and we had search warrants. We did search warrants and everything. It was good. But what really made a dent was the bad guys. the organized crime guys were getting their fireworks from a storage facility in Pennsylvania. All right. So at one point we had people following people from different states into, as soon as they went over the bridge with the fireworks in their truck, we would confiscate the truck, we arrest them, confiscate the truck. But when ATF got involved, they went over to the site, and I'm talking about millions of dollars worth of fireworks. I mean, millions. Acres on pallets in the warehouse. It was all illegally being stored. They didn't follow safety protocols, so ATF just confiscated everything. They shut it down,
and that was it.
Just shut it down. All those fireworks went south, and that stopped the fireworks from coming in. That 4th of July, it was so quiet, it was unbelievable.
Like, you couldn't even drive down the street sometimes in Queens or Brooklyn because there was that many fireworks going off, and then all of a sudden, like somebody shut the switch off. That was it.
Yeah,
the busiest.
And we took over the security. The whole fire department took over security, and all we designed the new ID cards.
Oh, you did?
Yes, we designed it. Yeah,
all the stuff that the marshals do, I had no idea.
Yeah, because we had to have cards, RIF cards, RIF radio frequency cards to get into headquarters and to get in different areas of headquarters. And we assign who can go where in headquarters when we give out the cards.
Right.
What privileges they have. And we did that. And one thing that we did was that I was kind of really being proud. I was very proud of was the line of duty death protocol. So Brett Drennan, right? He's in the hospital. Safer goes to and I was now the acting deputy in charge of Manhattan. Safer goes to the hospital. People don't know that. He used to go to the hospital at night to visit him. Okay? And Vina Drennan was his wife.
Mm-hmm.
John Drennan's in the hospital, badly burned. He said, Louis, he's going to die. He says to me, Louis, he's going to die. We have to take care of this body. We got to treat it. He's a hero. We have to treat it with respect. I said, I'll take care of it. So he dies. I get a call from the headquarters. He's dead. So myself and I think it was Jack McCauley or Richie McKay, we go to the hospital and we have the body. Body's there. And I said, we're going to transport it. We'll transport it by ambulance. So I go to there's an ambulance lieutenant or something, some officer from. I said, we're going to need your ambulance to transport the Captain Drennan's body. And the guy said, we don't transport bodies. We're not allowed to. I said, what do you mean you're not allowed to? He says, no. I said, this is a firefighter who died in line of duty. He says, I'm not allowed to. I said, okay. So now, meanwhile, the morgue wagon comes.
Mm-hmm.
And so the guy says, I'm here to pick up a body. I said, so you're the morgue? He goes, yeah. I said, well, then you're going to go straight to the morgue. We're going to escort you to the morgue with Captain Drennan's body. And he goes, no, I have to pick up a floater in the Bronx. So I said, let me look at that. Let me look at that wagon. He opens up the door and there's shelves. He's got bodies all over the place.
He's stacking them.
Bodies laying on the floor. He got bodies on the shelves. I said, you can leave. He's not going with you. Okay. I called the fire commissioner. I said, I have an ambulance here. They refuse to take him. He says, I will take care of that. And sure enough, he took care of it. We were able to put John Drennan. I mean, my next thing was to get the rescue to come and get him. But, John Drennan in the ambulance. We escorted him there to the ME's office because they got to do an autopsy. He died. Mm-hmm. He died in a fire. And we had Marshal stay there overnight with the body to identify him, so the family never had to come to identify him.
Right.
Which became the protocol, by the way, afterwards. And we witnessed the autopsy. And so because we have a liaison with the medical examiner's office anyway, because in case we have homicides.
Mm-hmm.
And then that became the protocol for line of duty deaths. So from that point on, we would have marshals. If say you're in a hospital, we have the body in the hospital. Before the family comes, we have fire marshals stationed with the body. Fire marshals help the medical examiner and the safety division. They come and examine they take the equipment. We help clean up the body. And then when the family comes to view, the wife, love, they come and view the body, we're there.
Right.
And we assure them that we will stay with him through the whole process of going to the ME, and we will escort him. After the ME, we escort him to
the funeral home.
Funeral home.
Wow.
The funeral hearse. The hearse would take him. That became the protocol because of John Drennan and Howard Safer.
Wow, that's
okay.
Yeah.
Before that, I don't know what happened before that.
I was just going to ask you what they do before that. I mean,
I don't know. We didn't have a ceremonial
unit, right?
We didn't have a ceremony. I don't know what happened before that. So I just felt like we were able to treat a hero with respect.
Yeah, and the dignity that he deserved.
New York with respect.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And during 9/11, we established a temporary morgue. We established the morgue at the ME's office. I had marshals and supervisors on each morgue. And when they brought someone in, and there was nobody really whole.
No.
It was we after 9/11, we collected everybody's fingerprints, dental records, and we gave them to the cops because the cops had the ME's office.
Right.
Right. So the first people who were identified, I mean, we were there with them as they even took pieces of like jaws and tried to match them with dental records.
Mm-hmm.
We were there, and the marshals just take. Unfortunately, during that time period, people would call from the pile. We had set up a process where until we knew exactly that person was that person, we didn't want to let anybody give people hope that was
right. Yeah.
You know, but they would call from the pile saying with rumors like, "Oh, we found your husband," or "We found his helmet." It doesn't mean we found him or a piece of him.
Right.
What you found there was our turnout gear held the the torsos together.
Right.
Even if you lost your legs or your head, the head's going around. I don't know if I should say this though.
I spent a lot of time there, so I know what you're talking about.
Okay, so the extremities were gone.
Right.
So, but we also had the serial numbers for everybody's coats, but you couldn't count on that. You couldn't count on that because some people took other people's coats.
Right. Yeah.
They came in and took other people's coats. So what we did, so there were tattoos. We had pictures of tattoos and everything. And then in the end, we started collecting DNA. The cops collected DNA.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I remember identifying somebody because of a tattoo and a Gristides card he had in his. And firefighters don't. Ronnie Bucca had his. See, fire marshals carry ID because they have guns.
Right.
And they got to carry their ID.
Right.
Firefighters don't carry ID.
No.
But this one fella had a Gristides card, and a pocket was turnout, in his turnout gear.
Right.
And a picture of his body with a certain tattoo, and the Gristides card, because the Gristides card was in his wife's name.
Right. We found our officer because he had the riding list in his pocket. That's how we found our officer.
Okay. So. I mean, these are the things, and there were some mistakes that happened. I'm not gonna get into everything that happened. I give the guys who stayed at these morgues, I had the same guys doing, because they had to take a lot of questions from family. They had to take care of family members who were upset.
A lot of emotions.
It was very emotional, extremely emotional. And I remember going down there and sitting with them and sitting with the MEs and the dental experts and everything else as they were looking at bodies. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy for those guys. But and we were there. We had those two locations until they gave up looking.
Right.
So I'm very proud of what they did, and most people don't even know what these marshals did.
You should be. You know what, Chief? I think I want to have you on again because, I mean, we talked about a lot about your firefighting career, but I would love to have you back and talk more about the marshals because I got a ton of questions here. So if you would be interested in doing a part 2, I would definitely have you on, and we could talk about more about the fire marshals.
Yeah, I mean, I think to close it out with the marshals, I think I was able to bridge a gap between the fire department, firefighters, and fire marshals. I wanted the department to know that we were there for a reason and a good reason.
Yeah.
And I think the firefighters understand fire marshals more now. When you went over to the marshals, firefighters put us down.
Yeah.
If you want to carry a gun, why don't you go to the cops?
I was just going to say that.
That's what they said.
Yeah.
That's what they all said. Meanwhile, you don't have enough time. There were a couple of times we did the right thing, which there was a couple of times when fire marshals really did the right thing for the fire department.
And that's what I'm saying. I think we have to have you on just as a fire marshal and not as a firefighter because there's some stuff that we left out and there's a ton of questions that I have that I want to ask. So what we'll do is I'll just schedule you for another time on sometime in January if you want to come on again.
Well, I'm leaving January 6th. I'm going down to Caribbean. So,
all right. So when you come back,
I got places to go, people to see, man.
I don't come back until February.
All right. So we'll book something in February.
Okay.
If you're okay with that.
The day you get back, we come on the show.
That day. Drop the bags in the room and get to your computer. All right.
I'll have a suntan on.
All right.
Nice. Where you going in the Caribbean? You coming down here to South Florida?
Go to St. Martin for 5 weeks.
Oh, shit.
5 weeks. I'm jelly, man.
I come back, then I go to Aruba for 5 weeks.
Oh man, you must have a lot of this. You must have a few stacks.
It's called retirement.
Good for you. I'm retired, but I'm not really retired. Okay.
Right.
No, right now I saw the commercials, so I think you're making money here too.
I don't know what you're talking about. You know what time it is now, right, Guns?
Oh man, I think I know what time it is. What is it?
I think you're doing a good job here.
Oh,
I'm trying.
Chief, are you ready?
Are you ready, Chief, for that time? You know what time it is?
It's the time.
It's that time.
It's time.
Here it is. It's time for the old school tip of the day. Day. All right. Take it away, Chief.
Hit him with it, Chief.
Let it rip.
The old school tip?
Yes.
If you're a firefighter, you're the happiest man in the world. Everybody's jealous of you. Listen to your training. Go out there, enjoy yourselves, work as a team, and know that you're doing the right thing by the world.
Definitely are.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely
What is that?
And I'm gonna look at my book right now. I'm gonna pencil you in. When are you leaving?
January 6th.
Oh, all right. So if I call you this week, we can get something in the book, right?
Yeah, we just got to look at the schedule. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll shoot you some dates for February, March.
Yeah, February, March. Yeah, whatever.
You'll be all tanned up, bro.
I'm leaving the 6th.
You'll be all tanned up. We won't know who you are.
You'll know who I am, believe me.
There we go.
All right. Anybody got anything to wrap up? What do we got, Gons?
I don't know. Who do we have on Thursday? This Thursday
Chief
we have
Ingram, Bob Ingram.
Bob Ingram.
Yep.
Yes.
Chief Bob Ingram coming on, and I think by that time, Tank will be back in. No, he'll still be here.
No, I'll still be here. I'm leaving Friday.
See, look, I'm getting like my mother.
Yeah, you are.
You spent all that time talking. I'm leaving Friday.
You spent all that time talking about it. We're leaving Friday, Kev.
We did.
Man, talking about overstaying. You're welcome. I mean, hey, how you doing? How's it going?
You know the Kubla house, bro.
I know.
Gonzo comes for as long as he wants. Tank. Even Jose. I let Jose come in there. You know what I mean?
Jose, you say it like a Jewish person.
Yeah. So Frank Suffolk, let me know if you're coming tomorrow. I got to make reservations. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you. I think Ruffy will be here on Thursday.
Okay.
So we'll see you on Thursday for Bob Ingram. Chief, thank you very much. We'll have you on for a part 2 because I'm fascinated with your career. And I hope you have a good time. The sun in your buns down there. Have a great time.
Have a good time.
Yeah, I know you do. Look at you.
St.
jealous.
Martin, boy. I hear a lot of good things about St. Martin.
Look, you have to have a good time in life.
Yeah, you have to.
True that. I'm getting there. I'm getting there soon. I'm too busy. All right. So we'll see you guys. Thank you, Chief. We'll see you guys on Monday. Until then,
I want to give a shout out to the Boyle family.
Yeah, do it.
To Dawn, Patrick, and Caitlin Boyle. Thanks for being there for me.
Excellent.
I'll always be there for you.
Beautiful. All right. We'll see you on Monday, Thursday night.
Thursday.
Till then, stay low and go.
Take care.
All right, everybody. We'll see you on the fire floor.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Chief, don't hang up. Good night, everyone.